Hello and welcome. Nigeria, like many other countries of the world in the United Nations, is a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted and proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in December 1948 to promote the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family to serve as the foundation for freedom, justice, and peace of the world. In view of this recognition, Nigeria then went a step further to establish the National Human Rights Commission Act of 1995 as amended by the NHRC Act of 2010. The Commission serves as an extrajudicial mechanism for the enhancement for the enjoyment of human rights in the country. This week, we shall be speaking with Professor Chidi Odinkalu, who is the Chairman Governing Council of the NHRC, to tell us about the Commission, its numerous petitions that it receives, challenges, and of course some burning national issues. Has the establishment of the Commission really created an enabling environment for the promotion, protection, and enforcement of human rights? Is the NHRC an alternative to the courts in Nigeria? How about our human rights record presently? Is there any improvement, or do we still have a long way to go? Well, join me as we try to find answers to some of these questions with our guest, who is a lawyer and a human rights activist. I'm Ayatunde Balogun, and this is Question Time. Professor Chidi Odinkalu, you're welcome to Question Time.
Thank you very much, Aya. How are you?
Now, it's a great pleasure to have you with us this week, looking at the National Human Rights Commission, which you are the chairman of the Governing Council, that is. But let's start right away looking at the Commission as it is presently. Established in 1995 via the NHRC Act, then amended sometime in 2010, if I'm correct. Yes, and I mean, looking at 1995 up to this date, I mean, how can you say, or how would you say that the Commission has been able to effectively pursue its mandate, making sure that Nigerians enjoy the benefits of human rights as it is?
It's difficult to tell the story of the Commission without its history. And it wasn't a very auspicious history. The Commission was created in the aftermath of the execution of the 9 Ogoni activists in 1995. And the original brief, really, at the time of its creation was essentially to help launder the image of Nigeria that at that time was under a great deal of international pressure over the circumstances of those killings. And so the underlying narrative and the underlying challenge that the Commission faced was credibility. And a lot of people did not want to associate with the Commission because of the context in which it was born and the credibility crisis that followed it. And so the first thing for me is a sense of gratitude to the people who actually were willing in those difficult days to nevertheless make some sacrifice to work to make sure that the Commission was done, or was created and subsisted. But with our Governing Council, when we were appointed in December 2011, that was the first council that the Commission had in over 6 years. The last council lapsed, in about 6 years really, lapsed between 2006 and 2007. And so we had a backlog of a lot of issues, personal issues, expansion issues, cases, institutional development issues. But above all, a challenge of trying to evolve a more credible institution. And for me, I think that's the biggest single thing that we've had to try to confront. To give Nigerians a sense that the Commission is an institution, imperfect as it is, that people can nevertheless come to. And I'd like to hope that about 1 year after the inauguration, nearly 2 years into our term officially, that we've made some dent in that direction. I'm not saying we've been fantastic, but the Commission at the end of the day is not something that awards contracts. It's not a place that you judge with reference to the number of buildings it's constructed or the number of contractors and millionaires it's made. It's a place you judge with reference to the kind of credibility that it has in the imagination of the people. And I'd like to think that we've made some modest progress.
All right, perhaps you want to share with us one or two achievements, outstanding achievements, that is, which you've talked about.
I don't know whether you recall that the in Abia State, for instance, the Abia State government had an issue with the what it called the backloading of staff in 2009-10, which was the retrenching of staff from outside Abia State, mostly from the states of southeastern Nigeria. And you may know that in the last fortnight, Abia State has recalled those staff. And the Commission has been involved in trying to advocate for the recall of those staff and affording them some remedies. And I think Abia State is to be commended for doing that. And these are the kinds of things, the Commission cannot put money in people's pockets. But when you look at the number of families involved, over 4,500 of them, and the fact that those families can all of a sudden enjoy a different kind of livelihood compared to what they've had over the last 3.5 years, there's no amount of money that makes up for that, in terms of satisfaction. I do think in some ways the Commission has also dealt fairly credibly with the situation in the northeast of Nigeria. It's a situation that challenges everybody in the country, the security managers, political leaders. Well, I do think fundamentally also it's a human rights issue. But as a body that is responsible for the protection of human rights, the first thing you've got to do is have basic rules for how people approach you, for how you manage the things you do, and for how you dispose of the cases that people bring to you. You set standards for how people behave, so that when people come to you, they come to you with a sense of clear sense of expectation, a clear sense of outcome, and you can manage, therefore, your throughput. And that is what, for the first time in our history now, we've got rules of procedure. Hopefully we're going to launch those rules of procedure on the 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day. But we'll put it out there for Nigerians to know what to do with the Commission and how to do it. Because one of the things we met was a backlog of cases going back, in some cases, 2001. And we want to be able to clear all of those cases in the lifetime of this council and not have a Human Rights Commission replicate what happens in our courts, which is delay, interminable, wait till thy kingdom come for an outcome to the cases. And we really do think that that's the way to go. To set proper rules, set clear expectations, and put our people through a process of knowing how to manage people properly.
Now, Prof, I want to take you up again on what you talked about just a while ago, that the National Human Rights Commission isn't another alternative to courts. But over the years, or should I say in recent times, many Nigerians often see the NHRC as indeed an alternative to courts. What would you have to say about this notion? Is that really the case? Or what is responsible for this?
Well, you see, I don't know whether or not there is a general notion that it's an alternative to courts, but I'd like to hope that by the time we're finished in 2015 with this current term of our council, that our Nigerians can see the Commission as a credible entity to which they can go and which can provide some remedies promptly. And the challenges of access to remedies are far-reaching in this country. And wherever you look, people have difficulties, and people are looking for how to solve the problems. I'm a lawyer, and the lawyers will tell you go to court. But the fact of the matter is that courts are not working for our people. Brutal, full stop. The biggest single reason goes back to our elections. Our elections are not working. Most of the politicians end up in court. They take a lot of time. They commit all our judicial resources to sorting out election disputes. And those take so much time, the judges are no longer doing the things that we employ judges to do, which is retail justice. The second thing, which is more fundamental, is that the electoral justice system has corrupted the judiciary. Because the political machine has corrupted the judiciary, even more fundamentally than the fact that the courts have been diverted on a day-to-day basis, is the fact that people have lost faith in judges and the courts because they have been corrupted by politicians. And so people are looking for credible alternatives, for credible outlets where they can take their cases to. And thank God the National Human Rights Commission doesn't do election petitions. Because we don't do election petitions, hopefully politicians are not going to be coming to us with wads of cash stashes of buildings, to amass in different parts of the world. So hopefully, we can simply concentrate on retailing justice and fairness and rules to those people who come to us, and that really is what my hope is. And that's what gives me the faith that if we apply ourselves properly as the National Human Rights Commission, we can do what we have to do.
Now, we know that here in Nigeria we have loads and loads of, diverse cultures scattered all over the place, and on a regular basis or a day-to-day basis, the National Human Rights Commission has to really deal with loads of, cases, talk about right to life, freedom of expression, freedom of movement, diverse religious beliefs, catering for our women, and even those in police custody, and trying to see how we can protect their rights. And how are you able to go about all of this, knowing the peculiar terrain where we find ourselves in this country?
You have to believe that we are. Otherwise, then we're no use being Nigerians, and we're no use offering, talking about elections and governance and all of that. Now, we may be unique, but we're no more unique than any other race or any other country. The average Nigerian, north, south, east, west, south, south, middle belt, name it, hankers after basically the same thing. People want peace in their neighborhoods. They want to be able to go, to wake up, eat, sleep,